Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video I'm going to be finishing some fantasy book series that I'm in the middle of. So before I get into the video, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, thriller and romance books and I post videos every Sunday. So as I've just said, the goal of today's video is to finish out 4 fantasy book series that I've got one book left to read in. So the first series I plan on finishing is the Ending Fire trilogy. So the final book in this series is The Ending Fire by Saara El-Arifi. I have recently only just started this one, so I'm really pleased with my progress and how quickly I've managed to get to the final book. The next series I'm going to be finishing, I'll be reading the final book in the Burning Kingdoms series, which is The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. I read the first 2 books in this series in 2024, so it's about time that I finally finish this one out. So I think I'm going to have to read a little bit of a recap of the previous 2 books because I can't remember all the details, but I do remember really enjoying the first 2 books, so I'm excited to finish this one out. Tasha Suri is also recently or soon coming out with a new series, so I want to finish her current series. I then have the final book in the Library trilogy, which is the book that held her heart by Mark Lawrence. Again, I only started this one back in October 2024, so I've made pretty quick progress in getting around to the final book for this one. I'm really enjoying this series so far. I do really like Mark Lawrence as an author, so I'm really excited to get to this one. And then we have the sequel and final book in the Night Ends with Fire series, which is The Dragon Wakes with Thunder. This is a duology about a Mulan retelling. I read the first one again back in 2024, so about time that I finally pick this one up and finish out this series. Again, I really enjoyed this first one, so I'm excited to get to the second one in this series. So these 3 plus The Ending Fire by Saara El-Arifi are the 4 books I'm going to be reading for this reading vlog. So let's get reading. I have started reading the first book of this reading vlog, which is The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. This is the 3rd book in the Burning Kingdoms series, and in this one we follow 2 girls trying to make their way in this empire. So we have Melini, who is a princess of the empire. Her father, I believe at the beginning of the first book, her father is the emperor and her older brother is in line to take the throne from him, and they believe that ritually sacrificing women in this world will grant them more power and more prosperity. They raise women and then they essentially burn them alive in sacrifice to the gods, and Melini has been raised to be one of these sacrifices. And in the beginning of the very first book there are 3 girls, including her, who are about to be burnt alive, and she refuses, she runs away, and she ends up being exiled to a kind of like monastery religious place where we meet our second character, Priya. Now Priya, she is training to be an elder, so these are women who look after the temple and eventually will kind of get sort of like magical abilities, and that is essentially the beginning of the first book. And then we go from there. These 2 girls are trying to find their way in the world, and we also have a piece of the plot where there is something called the rot that infects the people of this kingdom, and essentially they like grow leaves and things out of their bodies, and we don't really know where it's come from, how to cure it. Essentially these 2 women are trying to find their way in this world and also maybe help cure people with the rot and just basically what's going on here. So this is a really good series. I read the first 2 back in late 2024 and really enjoyed them, and I don't really know why I never carried on with this series, but I'm glad I finally gotten around to finishing it now. So this one is really good so far. I'm currently just under 300 pages into this one and it is a little bit slow. I do feel like because our characters have been separated, and I'm not going to say like what's going on, have been separated, and it feels like we're taking a long time to kind of make our way back to each other. Now considering this is just under 500 pages long, I'm a bit concerned that we've got 200 pages left and in the first 300 that not a lot is really going on, so I'm a bit concerned as to where this is going to go. Are we going to wrap things up or are we going to leave things open-ended? I have read a Tasha Suri series before. It was a duology and I did really enjoy that one, so I do trust her, but I'm just, you know, when you're getting near to the end of a series and we don't seem to be anywhere near wrapping anything up. Our characters are separated, they seem to be on different paths and they want different things, but we don't really seem to be getting anywhere with either of them. And then the whole thing with the rot, there seems to be no evidence of finding out what's causing it, how to cure it, kind of thing. I am interested, I'm still enjoying it, I'm just a bit concerned, and I think the politics of this world are taking over this book quite a bit with where one of our characters is. That does make sense, but I am enjoying it and I'm gonna hopefully finish this one today if I can. But yeah, I am enjoying it. I would definitely recommend this series. The first book is called The Jasmine Throne. Also, it's sapphic as well, so there's a bonus as well. But yeah, I don't know, it's a bit slow and not a lot's really going on so far, but I'm hoping that our characters will make their way back to each other. Obviously, there's a lot more characters than just those two. There is a lot of side characters that we also follow. So I'm hoping that they all kind of make their way back to each other and we get a move on with, not get a move on, I don't mean like that, but we kind of make some progression with resolving this story, because it's nearly 300 pages and not a lot has really happened yet. So I'm gonna crack back on with this one and I'll check back in with you guys when I'm done. I have now finished reading The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri, and I'm going to give this one a 3.5 star rating. So this for me was quite a disappointing installment in this series, especially given how strong the first two books were. For me, this was just very anticlimactic and very repetitive. We had this plot line with the rot and these people getting infected with it, and it's linked to these creatures called the Yaska. And considering in the first few books how they'd done all this research into the rot and they couldn't find a cause for it and they couldn't find a cure for it, and these Yaska was supposed to be sort of big baddies and undefeatable kind of thing, it was just very anticlimactic what did end up happening. And I think most of this book was our two main characters kind of going around in circles with their relationship and their feelings for each other, and then the political plot line and the sort of the main plot of this book of the rot and the politics took a very big sideline, and I didn't really like that. And I also didn't like the very short chapters that we got. I feel like we didn't really get enough time to engage with a lot of our characters, considering that we followed quite a few characters, not just the main two. And I think if you're going to have side characters having chapters, you really need to pull the audience in and spend time with them in order for us to be able to engage with them. And these were characters that I loved in the previous book, and I just kind of wasn't really interested in a lot of their stories, or I just didn't care as to what they were up to. Even with the main two characters, I felt very detached from these characters, and I think that the short chapters had something to do with that. But how incredible the first two books were, this was quite a big disappointment for me. Glad I finished the trilogy out, as I was intrigued as to what was going to happen, but I do think that most of this was just the romantic subplot becoming the main plot, and these two characters just going around in circles, really, which I feel like I'm now going around in circles with my review. But yeah, I didn't love this one, but it is another series that I have now finished, which I am pleased with, and I'm definitely still going to check out Tasha Suri's next book whenever that comes out. I think she's either got one that's just come out or is coming out soon, so I definitely will check out her work, because I do enjoy her as an author. I think the previous series I read by her and the first two installments in this were absolutely incredible. This was just a big disappointment for me personally, but I have read some reviews. Some people do love this and some people don't really like it, and I think I didn't not like it, I just felt a bit disappointed compared to the first two books. So as well, I feel like we didn't explore the rot and that whole aspect much. We didn't really explore this world very much, and honestly I was getting a bit bored of this country, this kingdom, these priests' obsession with burning women alive. Like, they were just obsessed with it, and I just think for the amount of women that you have burnt alive and nothing has changed, do you not think maybe this is not actually working? It was just every single chapter that Malini had, someone was talking to her about sacrificing herself and burning herself alive, and I was so bored of hearing it. 3.5 stars because I did like it, I just didn't love it as much as the first two. So 3.5 stars is my rating for this one. That is another series finished. Hey guys, so I'm just currently 150 pages through the book that held her heart by Mark Lawrence. This is the third book in the library trilogy. So I really enjoyed the first one. I gave that a 4.5 star rating, and the second one I didn't enjoy so much. I think I gave it a 3.5. I can't actually quite remember what I rated it. This one so far is leaning towards a similar rating to the second book. So this book follows a magical library, and we follow two perspectives, Elva and Liveria, and they are, I don't want to give too much away. I think if you want a good synopsis of the first book, I will leave the vlog where I read that linked above. But essentially they are two people trapped in different parts of time. Who Elva is trapped in the library and Liveria is using the library to advance her schoolwork and things like that, and they cross paths and the sort of plot opens up from there. Like I said, go and watch that vlog if you want a good synopsis of it. Since then we've kind of been repeating the same plot line. So the first book was really strong, and then the second book plot I didn't really think was as strong. In the second book we introduced a new perspective, and in this one we've done the same here. We've introduced another new perspective that personally I don't really see why why we need it. I think that this story has enough characters. We don't need to be introducing new plot points or new characters in the final book in the trilogy. I mean, I may be eating my words at the very end of this. It could be something to do with the creation of the library, we don't know. Personally, I just don't think it's really necessary, and I'm really kind of getting a bit weary and not bored with it, but I'm just finding I'm not really caring about these chapters. Especially this one is set in sort of very early Nazi Germany, and we know what happened there. I'm not really sure the relevance of it to this book, and I don't know if it's just kind of been added for the sake of it. I'm not really sure. And then our two characters again just seem to be kind of running around, not really getting anywhere, and I'm kind of just a bit tired of reading it. I'm not sure if maybe this was supposed to be a duology that then got expanded to 3 books or what, but it definitely feels that way, in that the plot of the second and the third book so far seem to be very non-existent. So I am kind of just a bit about it at the moment. I'm going to carry on reading it, but I'm just not loving it so far. I mean, I might change my mind the further on we get in the book. I might find that the new perspective has a bit of relevance to the story, or we actually finally get our characters doing something, but it seems like they just kind of try and make their way back to each other, then they just miss each other, and then it's kind of like a whole thing like that. And it's just a bit, when you've read 300 odd pages of it in the second book to then continue in the third book, it's just a bit like it's such a shame, because the first book was, in my opinion, so strong. And I think I really am struggling with whether I like Mark Lawrence as an author anymore, because I found like the first trilogy I read by him I really enjoyed. That was the Red Sister series, and then the sequel trilogy to that I really didn't enjoy. I read the first book, gave it like a 3-star, and then I DNF'd the second book halfway through. And then this trilogy, I really enjoyed the first one, and the second and the third so far I'm not really loving. Then we've had some kind of aspect where potentially is this linked to his other books as well, and I'm just kind of like, I don't really think that's necessary. I don't know, I'm just not really sure how I'm feeling about this book so far, so I'll carry on reading it. I might read something else like for a little bit, then go back to this one, and I'll check back in with you guys when I've got another update. But so far I am really not loving this book. I have now finished the next book for this vlog, which is The Book That Held Her Heart by Mark Lawrence, and I'm really conflicted on what to rate this one, because I really did not like this book. I think this was an extremely disappointing conclusion to the series. I think that we had way too much going on, we had way too many characters, and we, like I said, we introduced a new perspective that didn't add anything other than Nazi Germany was bad, which like we know that. We don't need this author to tell us that in a completely irrelevant point of view to this plot. It was just completely irrelevant. A bit like the POV that was introduced in the second book. It kind of amounted to something, but we could have probably done that in a different way, and this new POV in this book, Anna's POV, was just completely pointless to this plot, to be honest with you. It just gave something for a couple of the characters to do. He obviously didn't know what to do with them, so he just kind of made up this perspective and just shoved them there. And then, like I said, we had way too much going on. We had way too many characters in way too many different timelines and realities, and nothing was like final in this book, because we had this magical, our characters are hungry, there's this magical thing that can just make food. Oh, you've been stabbed, it's okay, magic will save you. And like there was no stakes in this because of that. So like one of our characters gets stabbed and they're just fine, and like there's just absolutely no stakes, and then something happens to another character and then you're kind of like, oh well, like they're gonna be fine, and then like they're not. And I just think this was so disappointing to me. Like it was all over the place, and I genuinely don't know what happened in this book for like nearly 400 pages. I genuinely just don't know what happened. I think so much was left unanswered, or like even if you have to read between the lines, it's just not for me. And I read some of the reviews for this on Goodreads, and I know a lot of people were also quite disappointed in this, so I'm kind of glad it's not me, the minority here. But I just think this was such a disappointing conclusion. The first book was so fantastic, and I think maybe he didn't know where to go with it. I don't know, maybe this was supposed to be a duology and it got stretched out. I don't know. I think me and Mark Lawrence are done. I think I'm done with him as an author now. Like I enjoyed the first trilogy I read by him, and I enjoyed the first book in this trilogy, but I didn't really enjoy the second or the third, and the other trilogy of his I didn't enjoy, so I think I'm just done with him. The concepts are always really good and they just fall flat, and this was just extremely disappointing. And like I know what's happened to our characters, but so much was left open that I'm like, is that actually what happened to them? Is this like a different timeline? Is this a different reality? Yeah, I'm just quite annoyed at this book. I'm really annoyed by this book, and this series has just really annoyed me now, because the first one was so good, and yeah, I just don't think I'm going to read anything else by this author. I think if you like more of a whimsical fantasy where you don't necessarily get your answers, you might enjoy this series, but for me, I just didn't really like it. I think that for the amount of work I put into this series, it's not worth it to me. Yeah, I'm just annoyed, and it's annoying as well because these covers are absolutely stunning as well. but I think I'm done with this author now. So yeah, that is at least another series finished, and like I can just be done with this author now and just be done with this series. But I was hoping that the third book would be as good as the first book, but unfortunately it was not. So I don't know what to rate this book either. I've given it a 3 on Goodreads, and then I put it down to a 2, and then I've put it back up to a 3. I think maybe a 2.5 or a 2. I don't know. I'm gonna have to sit on this one, I think, and think about it. But either way, I didn't really enjoy it, and I won't be recommending it. So I am about halfway through The Dragon Wakes with Thunder by KX Song, and in this one it's a like Mulan retelling. So our main character Milin, her father is trying to marry her off to an older abusive man. He's refusing the call up to war as well, so she decides to essentially save herself and go in her father's place to fight in this war. And there she kind of falls in love with the crown prince that's there. Now he is the 7th son of the emperor, or the commander of this kingdom, and obviously she's disguised herself as a boy, so he thinks that she's a boy. And then she ends up like saving loads of people's lives in this battle, and then it's revealed that she's a woman, and they, instead of like praising her and things like that, they lock her away, which is like the Mulan retelling. So there's nothing really like spoilery there, because we all know Mulan. If it's a Mulan retelling, you kind of know how it goes. However, there is a little bit more to it than that. So we have these like spirits that can kind of, I don't really know how to explain it best, but they can kind of like call to you, and then you can like harness their power. But obviously as you do that, it takes over your body and your mind, and that is the magic system of this world essentially. And obviously only a few people have this power, and it is very like frowned upon. Now in this one, we're obviously following Milin and Sky, the crown prince, following on from what happened in the first book. Now this one, I kind of feel like the plot is a little bit all over the place. So this is definitely feeling like a combination of the second Daughter of the Moon Goddess book, is it the Heart of the Sun Warrior, and like A Song of Silver Flame Light Night, specifically like the second book. It's feeling like a bit of a mashup of that, and I didn't love either of those books. I feel like you set up this first book in this duology to go a certain way, and then the second book just kind of goes off in a completely different direction, and then we've got this sort of like love triangle going on, which I'm not really in love with. It's kind of annoying me actually. I feel like maybe I just don't remember the first book all that well, but I feel like Sky is a very different character in this book, and I feel like he kind of would have, in the first book, he would have like moved heaven and earth for Milin, and now it feels like the author didn't want Milin to end up with him, so she's like writing him in a different way that we like want to hate him, and I'm not loving it, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm really not having much luck with these last books and series in this vlog. This is kind of feeling a bit like a 3-star again, like with the other two. I mean, it's not as bad as the book that held her heart, but it's just, yeah, I'm not loving it. And I think if we had carried on in the direction that the first book took, it would have been a lot better. Or maybe even if we just ended the first book a bit differently, we wouldn't have even needed a sequel. I don't know, I'm just not loving this one so far. Like, the writing's really good and all that. It is reading a bit YA though, I will say that, considering this, I think the first book came in an adult fairy loot, so this is supposed to be like an adult book. It's reading quite YA, which isn't like a bad thing, but it's not really what I was expecting from this duology. So yeah, I'm not loving it, but I am gonna finish it out. It is a pretty quick read, and you know, it's pretty entertaining. It's just not going in the direction that I want it to, so I'm not loving it. But I will carry on with this one and see where we go, where we end up with it, and check back in with you guys when I'm done. I'm not having much luck with this reading vlog, to be honest with you. Like, they're not bad, it's just like a bit mid. Like 3 stars, like a good rating. It's just, you know, I want to be reading like 4 or 5 star books consistently, and I'm just feeling like this vlog is really, I'm being let down a bit by ending of series. So yeah, just not loving the experience with this one, unfortunately. So I have now finished reading The Dragon Wakes with Thunder by KX Song, and I'm going to give this one a 3-star rating. So I'm really pleased that I finished another series so early on in the year, but unfortunately this one just didn't live up to how much I enjoyed the first one, in my opinion. I did read the first one back in late 2024. It did come in a fairy loot box, and I did actually really enjoy it. I gave it a 4-star rating. This one I really didn't enjoy as much. I feel like the first book had much more of a sort of story to it. We had much more of a progressive plot, in that we had clear stories for all of our characters, whereas I feel like with this one, our characters were just all of them were just all over the place, and it felt like the author didn't really know how to maybe wrap this series up. I don't know, maybe this would have been better off as a standalone. But yeah, I just didn't love this one. Like, it was fun, it was a quick read, but I just didn't love the resolution. I didn't really enjoy the love triangle and how one minute our character is in love with one and then the next minute she's, you know, in love with another one, and it just felt a bit like childish. And like I said, there's definitely read a bit more YA than adult. Now maybe I'm wrong, but this was definitely in the adult fairy loot, so for how like immature our character was, I just didn't really love this. And yeah, it's just a bit disappointing in comparison to the first book. I did love all the lore and things like that, but I just wish we explored the magic system a little bit more. I think that in the first book we were just discovering the magic system, and in this one it kind of felt like we should know all about it, when actually our main character was discovering it for herself, and then suddenly she's an expert in it. But none of this happened on page, so it was just kind of like I felt a bit lost with it sometimes. And then like the whole political bit as well, that was quite interesting, but again I just feel like that was a bit rushed, and yeah, it just fell a bit flat for me, this one, unfortunately. So another 3-star, but at least I finished another series which I've had on my TBR for quite a while now. But yeah, I'm just not really having much luck with this vlog, I think. So I'm hoping that the last series that we'll be finishing up will be much better than these ones, but let's see. I have now read the last book for this reading vlog, which is The Ending Fire by Saara El-Arifi. This is the third and fire book in the Ending Fire trilogy, and this vlog has just been full of disappointing series endings, to be completely honest. I'm going to give this a 3-star. 2.75, 3-star. So this series begins with the Final Strife, and in the Final Strife we have a empire with 3 different blood types. We have red blood, blue blood and clear blood, and the people of this empire are segregated based on their blood colour. The red bloods are the most powerful, the blue bloods are just kind of like middle, not treated very well but not treated as badly as the ghostings, and the ghostings rebelled 400 years prior to the start of this book, and in penance they all have their hands cut off and their tongues cut out. Throughout this book we follow our 3 main characters, Anor, Sila and Hassa, one of each different blood type, and we follow them uncovering the secrets of this world and trying to right some wrongs and bring this empire to justice and make things fair for everyone. And in the second book we really opened up this world a lot more, and this book was just extremely disappointing for me. So our main character, one of our main characters, Anor, she is a red blood and she is very much a believer in the empire at the beginning of the first book, and in the third book it felt like she was just a completely different character. She flipped and flopped between different belief systems. So as I said, we've expanded on this world quite a bit, and she finds herself somewhere else in this world, and she is taken there and she just kind of like believes everything that she's told and just kind of disregards her own beliefs, and she flips and flops back and forth so often. I just think, how can I believe that you even believe in this thing when 5 minutes ago you were believing in something else? Like, you were just, yeah, I just really did not like where her story went. I feel like Sila and Hassa really took a backseat in this book as well, and we followed a lot of characters that I just didn't really care too much for. And I just think that the whole climax of these conflicts, so we had quite a lot going on in these first 2 books, and the conflicts were just really anticlimactic. So for example, one of the conflicts is obviously all the different blood types. They want, obviously, the blood types of blue and clear, they want a fairer society for themselves. The red bloods are sort of like, no, absolutely not, this is how we're living. And then like it was just so anticlimactic. Like, I can't say what happened because of spoilers, but I was literally reading it, I was just like, seriously? Like, that you think that they would like do this? Like, you're joking me, right? And then the main battle was over just so quickly, and we just followed these random characters throughout it. Again, we didn't really even follow our main 3 characters throughout this big conflict, and then this big conflict was just so anticlimactic, and genuinely, like, the book ended and I was just like, what? Is that it? Like, we didn't even really, we spent all this time building up to this climatic battle between these different, you know, between the blood types of this empire, and then also another conflict regarding the wider world, and they were just so minimal. Like, the whole book was just basically like John trying to find a love interest. I feel like I don't understand what happened in this book. Like, the first 2 books were so strong, and this was just almost felt like it was written by a different author, or almost like the author didn't know how to wrap everything up, or she didn't want to write a battle scene, she didn't want to write this fight, or she didn't know how to do it, and it was just it was just so disappointing. I'm so disappointed in this ending to this series. Like, this really hurt. This really hurt because the first 2 books were so strong, and I'm like, this is such an underrated fantasy series, and now I'm just like, well, the 3rd book was just meh. Like, honestly, I'd recommend the first 2 books. I wouldn't recommend this 3rd book. It's just so disappointing. And like, you really grow to love these 3 main characters. We spend so much time with them, and for them to be sidelined, or just, you know, 2 of them to be sidelined and one of them to just feel like a completely different character, was just really disappointing. And I really loved this series. I thought it was really a refreshing take on fantasy, and now I'm just kind of like, well, I almost feel like you didn't know what you wanted to do at the end, and I feel like I don't know how this world is going to move forward, like what's going to happen. We had this conflict that wasn't really resolved very well, or very anticlimactic, and then we just kind of like end the book, and I'm kind of like, yeah, but what now? What now? I want to know what's going to happen to these people, and you've just ended it. Like, but the thing is, like, the first maybe 30% of this book, I kind of was like, okay, so we're doing a lot of setup, and then like 50% through, I'm kind of like, okay, we're still doing a lot of setup, and then like 70%, I'm like, right, this is how it's gonna go. I kind of, when we had like the first conflict resolved, I was kind of like, right, I don't think I'm gonna like this. I don't think I'm gonna like how this is gonna end, and I was right. And I was looking at some of the reviews on Goodreads, and it's very like, this last book definitely took a nosedive, and it's just very disappointing, really. So yeah, I did really enjoy the first 2 books in this series. This was just like, I don't know, a 3-star, a 2.5. I don't know how to rate this, because like I have enjoyed the series overall, but just this was so disappointing. And I'm just, I want more. I really want more for our characters, and like, you know, maybe a couple of extra chapters, just what's happening now, you know. So yeah, 3 stars for that one. So yeah, this seems to be a vlog of just like really disappointing series endings. I didn't intentionally do this, and now I just don't want to read anything. So yeah, not the vlog I was planning on doing. You know, but you know, I can't help how I feel about these books. So yeah, that is going to be it for this reading vlog, where I have finished 4 book series that I was in the middle of. Comment down below, please, if you've read any of these books. What did you guys think of them? Am I in the minority? I mean, I know I'm not in the minority because I've read the Goodreads reviews, but I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.